It begins with the sound of engines, the sterile hum of recycled air, and a frame that should never have existed. The billionaire is in 14A, the single mother in 14B, and the boy, the one who will call him Dad, is perfectly positioned between them. His voice is small, careful, like a match struck in a dark room. The camera shakes just enough to feel accidental, yet never loses focus. The angle is impossibly clean for something that should have been filmed on a phone at arm's length. Light spills from the cabin window like a spotlight from God, painting the man's profile in soft gold. Then it happens, a tear rolls down his cheek. Not a messy, human tear, but one that glides perfectly down the camera-facing side of his face, catching the light just before it falls. A beat too perfect. A beat rehearsed. You are told it's chance. You are told it's love. But the moment you stop feeling and start looking, the seams appear. The metadata says this was uploaded at 9:17 a.m. A different video, another billionaire, another chance encounter, hits the platform at 9:18. Another at 9:19. Airports in Delhi, Lagos, Sao Paulo. Different faces. Same framing. Same breathless captions. Accounts that never post again. Whoever is doing this, they are everywhere at once. The captions themselves begin to speak in patterns. Certain words cluster together, like they were grown in the same soil. In a world full of hate, kindness still wins. A line repeated in over a dozen uploads, traced to marketing scripts from 2017 political operations known for empathy bait, the art of making you cry before delivering a message. These were not random acts of kindness. These were emotional engines. You scroll back, freeze frames, reverse image searches, and there they are, the strangers. The man in the tan coat who walks past the camera in Lagos is the same man who boards the plane in Sao Paulo. The crying mother in the Delhi video is also the grateful shopkeeper in a New York street clip 6 months later. Her name changed, her hair longer. Always new clothes. Always a new story. Never the same name twice. The pattern is old, older than the internet. During wartime, propaganda officers staged miracle rescues to stir loyalty. In 1983, a Red Cross campaign staged a disaster photo so perfectly that donations spiked worldwide. The dead child in the rubble was an actor. When the flashbulbs cooled, he stood up, brushed the dust from his hair, and went home. The image had already done its work. This time, the rubble isn't brick and stone, it's your trust. The algorithm knows exactly how much hope you can take before you're ready to believe anything. A tear in the right frame can soften you enough to open your wallet, cast your vote, or follow a cause without question. They don't need to lie outright. They only need to make you feel first, so you'll listen later. And somewhere, in another airport, another train station, another crowded street, a camera is already rolling. Another coincidence is already unfolding. The light will be perfect. The tears will fall exactly where they need to. And when you see it, you will believe, because you've believed it before. She is pouring coffee into a chipped white mug when the door opens. A man in a tailored suit, fresh from a flight that didn't exist on public schedules, slides into the corner booth. The camera is already there, hidden, watching her before she even notices him. They will tell you later that she sat beside him by accident. That they talked for hours. That when she walked away, she was richer, safer, somehow seen. But accidents don't have boarding passes. And the flight manifest says her name was chosen. Airline booking records show them paired again and again, across airports half a world apart. The boarding passes change, but the seats don't. Always close enough for an overheard conversation. Always just enough time for a camera to catch the moment he decides she's worth saving. Cross-referencing faces against PR firm rosters pulls up smiling headshots on corporate, experiential marketing pages, the kind of actors hired not to sell you a product, but to sell you a story. It's a story built on a dangerous piece of psychology, the benign coincidence effect. The harder it is to believe, the more you believe it. When you see a billionaire and a waitress in the same airport lounge, you assume fate. When you find out it happened twice, you call it destiny. When it happens 3 times, you stop asking questions. You don't want the spell to break. But the spell fractures when you watch the raw footage. the unedited, uncut security tape from the station where they first met. The crowd moves like a tide until it doesn't. A stretch of 42 minutes is missing, edited away. The next frame shows her walking past him at the exact moment his head turns toward the lens. The lighting perfect. The smile rehearsed. The story inevitable. It's not new. In the Cold War, friendship campaigns planted agents in cafes to stage heartwarming rescues for propaganda reels. A lost child found by a soldier. A stranger helping a grandmother carry groceries. The images spread faster than truth. What is new is that now, it's not a government leaflet, it's your feed. Your phone. Your midnight scroll. And by the time you've watched it, by the time you've shared it, the moment is no longer theirs or yours. It's theirs, the ones who planned it, placed it, perfected it. You tell yourself it's just another late-night scroll, one more video before sleep. Then another. And another. Your heart swells, your eyes sting, and for a few minutes the world feels lighter, better. You keep clicking because it feels good. But you don't notice the pulse yet, the hidden beat threading every clip together, the score you were never meant to hear. Somewhere, faint but deliberate, a piano drips notes like water through a crack. The same pattern appears in 1, 2, 3, and then 17% of all the videos in the playlist. Not enough to be obvious, but enough to tune your mood before you even realize it's there. The composer has no credit. You would never think to search for him. But the signature, the subtle progression in the melody, leads back to a single man tied, quietly but unmistakably, to a media company with documented contracts in state-backed propaganda networks across Southeast Asia. The geography is worse. Early versions of these thumbnails, before the cleanup, carried EXIF data, tiny, invisible GPS coordinates embedded in the file. When plotted, they form a constellation of 6 cities. Not capitals, not tourist destinations. 6 hubs with another kind of fame. Each has hosted known psychological operations units, the kind tasked with bending public sentiment in war zones and disputed territories. You were never watching life as it happened. You were watching life as it was staged in the safest, most controllable theaters of influence. Even the words begin to betray themselves. At first, they seem harmless. Kindness that restores faith. The world needs more like this. Proof that good still exists. But when you strip away the emotional varnish and place them against military PSYOP training manuals, you see the match. These are not random captions. They are phrase templates, engineered to bypass critical analysis and see trust. In those manuals, they are listed under Phase 1. Softening the cognitive perimeter before ideological delivery. The smile, the tear, the grateful handshake. Those are the hooks. The captions are the lock. And the timing, always the timing. You start to notice it only after charting the dates yourself. Every surge of random kindness is followed, without fail, by a media storm targeting a high-profile villain, a politician's disgrace, a CEO's scandal, a figurehead for the week's collective anger. The kindness comes first, lowering your guard, rehearsing your moral reflexes. Then the villain arrives, and you already know who you're supposed to hate. You believe you've made the choice yourself, but the choice was built into the tempo from the start. The callbacks haunt you now. You think of the earlier anomalies, the billionaire videos uploaded minutes apart from different continents, the recycled faces under new names. But here, the manipulation is more insidious. It's not in the frame or the actors. It's in the rhythm, the cycle, the invisible metronome calibrating your emotions before you even realize there's music playing. You want to believe the moments are real. You want to think kindness just happens. But when you step back, you see the shape of it. The score is written. The notes are struck. And you are the instrument. They are always behind someone else's story. Out of focus. Half hidden. The kind of faces your eyes slide over when you're watching the moment you're meant to see. But once you notice them, the spell fractures. A man in a red scarf on a rainy street corner in Berlin, applauding as a stranger buys flowers for an old woman. The same man, same scarf, same subtle smirk, leaning against a railing in Singapore as a chance reunion unfolds for the camera. A woman with a crescent-shaped birthmark near her temple, smiling the exact same way in a cafe in Buenos Aires and in a charity kitchen in Warsaw. Different seasons. Different continents. Always in the background, never in the credits. Frame-by-frame analysis pulls them out of the blur. Dozens of appearances, months apart, across supposedly unrelated events. The more you trace them, the less random the footage feels. Cross-referencing their faces against open-source datasets, NGO staff lists, conference photos, aid worker registries, connects some of them to organizations with quiet, indirect links to intelligence agencies. Not the ones you hear about in films. The ones that specialize in soft influence, the long game. The kind who work in plain sight precisely because you never think to question them. The pattern is harder to talk about than it is to see. On Reddit, /r/conspiracy threads about crowd plants vanish within hours, comments replaced with the placeholder of deletion. But archive.org still holds the fingerprints, screen grabs, comparison charts, posts mapping the same woman's smile across 4 continents. No official denial. Just erasure. The psychology is as old as trust itself. Subliminal familiarity, see a face enough times, in enough different contexts, and your brain begins to file it under safe. The man in the red scarf isn't just a stranger anymore. He's part of the scenery you've been trained to believe in. His presence makes the staged kindness feel more authentic, not less. You don't even realize he's been installed in your memory like furniture. It ties back to the earliest anomalies, the reverse image search threads from the first chapter. The strangers who weren't strangers. The lives that weren't lives, just masks worn for the right scene at the right time, for the right audience. You tell yourself you'd notice them if you saw them in your own life. But the truth is you already have. And you didn't. Ned perfectly, unknowingly, to play the song they need you to hear. It doesn't end the way you expect. There is no final video, no grand reveal, no soft fade-out with credits over swelling strings. One night the feed is alive, the algorithm still feeding you those perfect, aching little moments. The next morning, it's gone. No uploads. No stories. Just an empty channel banner, a name you almost remember, and silence thick enough to feel in your teeth. For some, it's relief. The emotional drip finally shut off. For others, it's withdrawal, a phantom itch in the hours you once filled with curated kindness. And in that silence, a new thought grows, heavy and slow. Whose story was it really? And why did they stop telling it? You start to notice the others. Entire channels vanish overnight, their domains now pointing to obscure corporate sites selling nothing in particular. The URLs look like graves with wrong names on the headstones. FOIA requests into contracts for narrative influence testing return pages drowned in black ink, but the dates that remain are telling, perfect overlaps with the release windows of those viral clips. The implication hangs there like static. The stories stopped not because they ended, but because the experiment moved on. A whistleblower slides into your DMs, the language clipped, careful. They talk about participants treated like lab rats, cameras capturing every tremor in the voice, every dilation of the pupils, all in service of mapping the most efficient path from stimulus to compliance. They don't say who funded it. They don't have to. The tone in their messages says enough. This wasn't content. It was calibration. Psychologists have a term for what comes next: abrupt narrative withdrawal. Cut the feed without warning and the attachment intensifies. The memories sharpen, distort, become precious. You replay the clips in your head more often, and with each replay, they take on new meaning whether it's there or not. The moments grow heavier in hindsight, as if absence proves their truth. You tell yourself it couldn't have been fake because it feels more real now than it did the first time you saw it. And then one night it returns. Not on the same platform, not in the same form. You're watching foreign election coverage you barely understand when the first viral clip slips into view. The billionaire with the tear. The tear falls the same way. The boy's voice has the same tremor. But his lips are slightly wrong. His voice a fraction deeper. You realize it's been rebuilt, deep-faked, and deployed. The feeling it gives you is exactly the same as it was the first time, warm, sharp, and immediate. Only now you know exactly what that feeling is worth to someone.